I want to thank you very kindly for joining me today. We have a very important topic to get through, something that should be of interest to everyone, and that is how we can get out of this national debt. This is no joke. This is no put on. I'm going to give you facts and figures to the best of my ability. But you're going to have to realize, for years now, you, the public, have been lied to by those people who would profit most by the prohibition of marijuana. Yep, that's exactly what I said. The Medical Association today is verifying that many of the things they said before are untrue where marijuana is concerned. So let's look at who would profit most by marijuana's prohibition, which will give you an inkling as to why you've been lied to. Okay? And the only one who's going to profit is the criminal element. Big crime. Okay? You know, just like in the days of Prohibition, the ones who fought most against repealing Prohibition were the criminals. Al Capone and those who were involved in the illegal manufacture and sale of alcohol. That was a stupid time in our lives as far as our nation is concerned, and this is going to be looked at as a stupid time as well. The worst part of this, to me, and I hope by the end of this you'll share my view, the worst part of this is it seems to me like our nation is taking billions, that's billions with a B, putting it in this very ornate, dressed-up box, wrapping it up in very expensive wrapping paper, and putting on it an expensive, shiny gold bow with ribbon and all. And then we take that and we say, "Here, criminals, this is our gift to you." What the hell is wrong with us? Every time you see an arrest being made on the news, where $5 million of marijuana was confiscated, $10 million, yada, yada, yada. I want you to think to yourself from now on, that should be ours. That money should be our money. Why are we throwing it away to the criminals? Okay, the number one objection to the legalization of marijuana has been that it is an addictive drug. It is a gateway drug, which means it leads to greater drugs. This is unfounded, and I'll explain this to you. You can ask any doctor, you can ask any probation officer, any legal official. If you use cocaine, crack, any of the white powder drugs that man has made, this begins to leave a residue in your body. And that's how the addiction is formed. In order to have an addiction, you have to have a buildup of this residue in your body. Marijuana leaves the body within 24 to 48 hours. Ask any probation officer. You take a kid who smoked on Monday, he gets piss tested on Wednesday, blood tested, hair follicle tested. It's not going to show the marijuana because the THC in marijuana, which is the thing that makes the high, leaves the body. Now, if it leaves the body in 24 to 48 hours, there can be no addiction. There can be no physical addiction. It's not like heroin. Heroin leaves a residue in the body that is constantly there for years. Cocaine is the same thing, not quite as bad. I look at it this way. If God made it, in one way or another, it's got to be good. If man made it, you know the devil is right there. Okay? God made marijuana. It grows rampant, or did. all the time and all over. Not so with cocaine. Man has to make that. Not so with any of the white powder drugs. But let's go back again. If there's no residue buildup, there can be no physical addiction. There can be a mental addiction. What's the distinction? Mental addiction is a soft mind, and it can be cured by psychiatry. Okay? There's no real addiction. This is like if people who would get addicted to marijuana are the same people who would get addicted to diet soda or saccharin or chocolate cake. Okay? It's the same deal. There's no real physical need for the drug because the residue is not inside the body. Now, if you accept that as medical fact, which it is, what is the question with marijuana? It stops being an addictive drug. It stops being a drug that will lead to other drugs. That's simply not true. In fact, in the 15 states where marijuana has been legalized so far for medical use, other drug uses have gone down. I mean, it only makes sense. These guys don't want to be criminals. If they can get high legally, they'll leave the cocaine and the crack and the other nonsense. They'll dry it out of their systems and just smoke marijuana. And it's better for you than alcohol. Marijuana is very good for the eyes. It's very good for things like glaucoma. It's good for Alzheimer's. It's good for your kidneys. People like myself, I have a neurological disorder. I suffer from excruciating, debilitating pain in my hands and in my feet. Now, what is this like? Let me explain it to you. You're not constantly in pain, but when this strikes, it's like someone has taken a nail and they've put electrodes on that nail, and then they heat it up until it's white hot, and without any notice, without any reason, they hammer this right into the bone of your fingertips, your hands, your feet, and you feel this unbelievable wrenching pain. But then they start with the electrode, and every 30 seconds, every 60 seconds, you get this horrible shock. And by the time you're over that pain and you're able to take a breath, it happens again. I've gone 3 days with episodes like this, where every hour of every day, for 3 days, I dealt with this. You can't eat, you can't sleep, brings you to tears, and nothing will cure it. If you take a drug like Vicodin or Oxycontin, you can't do that. First of all, you're going to get addicted to it because it does leave residue in your body. But secondly, even if you did take it, the relief would be for maybe 2 hours, 3 hours tops, and it wouldn't be total relief. It would just be a lessening of the pain. They put me on neuroblockers. Neuroblockers are something that they use for epileptics to stop them from having seizures because it blocks off certain neurological paths. I've been on 9 different ones. I almost lost my eyesight because of one. Okay, so while it may try and help one area, it hurts another. And none of the 9 that I was on really did anything long-lasting for the pain. The only thing that I have found success with is marijuana. And the doctors explain that the THC, when it gets into the brain, creates an enzyme that blocks off the manufacturing of whatever it is that causes that pain. Oh, it's relief, and it's the only relief we have. Other patients, like cancer patients who are suffering horrible side effects from chemotherapy, they use the marijuana with that. Now, the only thing I can do is to move out of this state and go to one of the 15 surrounding states where marijuana is legal. Or the state of Pennsylvania could wise up and legalize marijuana. Now, what would happen if they did? And this is the most important part to you. It's been estimated that we would take in Pennsylvania alone, we would take in roughly $5 million in taxes on the taxation of marijuana in 1 year. What could this state do with an extra $5 million? But hold on. That's just taxation of the product. Okay? You will also put to work hundreds of thousands of individuals because it's got to be farmed. Horticulturists will farm it in greenhouses using special techniques. Then it has to be harvested. It has to be produced, mashed up, de-seeded, however the state wants to do it. Then it has to be packaged, and it has to be distributed. That's 6 businesses right there, aside from the 7th business, which is opening up the stores where it would be sold. Hundreds of thousands of people would be put to work each year in a thriving industry, and each of those would be paying taxes. Each of those individuals would be paying taxes. New Jersey alone has estimated $7 million it has taken in the taxation of marijuana. And that's just in a year. Another thing you have to look at, again, the state of Pennsylvania spends between $7 and $10 million a year in the surveillance, the arrest, the prosecution, and the housing of those who are arrested for the use and sale of marijuana. 7 to 10 million. Add that to the other 5 million that you'd get in taxes. You're talking $12-13 million. What could we do with that? We could pave our streets. We could rebuild our bridges. We could help the elderly. And we wouldn't have to cut the programs that are being cut because we'd have the money for it. Now, what makes sense to you? To say, oh, no, we can't have marijuana legal. Give the money to the criminals. All these people you see on the street selling what you know has got to be marijuana and other drugs would stop. Who's going to buy from a street vendor when they could buy really good product legally? And New Jersey and other states have proven that after a few years of having just legalized medical marijuana, other drugs go down. Because why would someone risk going to jail for using crack or even cocaine when they could use marijuana legally? That drug use is gone. Look at all the violence that's going on, especially right now in Mexico, and right at our doorstep, our border. Look at that and say to yourself, overnight, it could be gone. Because these are major drug pins that are trying their best to get their drugs illegally into this country. Now, if we had it legal, they'd be out of business. Again, you talk about taking a bite out of crime. Come on, what makes sense to you? Look up the facts. I'm going to put up a space where you can go to look up different marijuana facts at the end of this video. I hope that you will take a moment and look into this and prove to yourself that what I'm saying is true. And once you realize it's true, you have to agree we need to legalize this and start making money on it. Why should we just throw this, put it in a pretty package and say, here, criminals, you take this. It should be ours, but we want you to have it. What are you, nuts? Anyway, that's the way I see it. I want to thank you once again for joining me. I hope you'll pass this message on.